The feeling of isolation writers experience is strong, and most of us just downplay it, saying it's just part of being a writer. We do what we do alone, and we should be able to get past it. But that's not true. Today we're going to talk about why it's so impactful and one simple thing that you can do to start feeling heard and like your writing matters. Take a deep breath. You've made it to the Writing Woods. While I love these Writing Woods, they're not the only ones around. There's a 5-day writers retreat in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, hosted by Great Smoky Mountains Institute at Tremont and Smokies Life. This episode is sponsored by the Tremont Writers Conference. Y'all can apply to attend by May 15th at tremontwriters.com. Let's talk about this feeling of writing into the void. Most of the time when we're feeling like this, we reach for validation, thinking that's what we need. A 5-star review, a yes from an agent. But there is something deeper at play here, and that kind of professional validation, while it can assuage the feeling, it won't eliminate it. But there is something much simpler we can do that will. When we feel like we're writing into the void, we can attribute that to a lack of success. But it's actually something deeper and more innately human. People have a basic desire to feel seen. And that's about being understood and received, not just noticed. Neuroscience experiments show that it is actually physically painful to feel misunderstood. This makes sense. In our history as humans, it's been dangerous to be an outsider. We have a whole mess of instincts designed to keep us close to the group, to make sure we didn't get stuck out at night alone with the lions. So when we feel like we're writing into the void, often what we're really feeling is unseen, like others don't know us fully, and our instincts scream that that's dangerous. It is not about being successful. It's about being known. The practice of writing can intensify these natural feelings because it is something that we do alone, and any feedback that we get is delayed. It's easy to feel invisible and like we're not being fully understood by others because, for the most part, we're not. But there is something simple we can do that changes this. And it doesn't come naturally. Our instincts push against this. Here's the issue. We have a huge evolutionary incentive to be understood, but not much of an incentive to understand others. So when we feel unseen or lonely, our nervous system reads it as danger. And we do the most natural thing we can think of. We try harder to be seen. It's like standing in the dark, asking someone to turn the light on for you. But here's the part we miss. They're standing in the dark too. Instead of reaching out into the void and shouting, "Can someone turn on the light?" we can reach out and flip the switch for somebody else. And that is what makes the whole room start to light up. Trying to be seen keeps you in the dark. Seeing someone else is what turns the lights on. This completely changes the dynamic and allows you as a writer to take charge of the kind of space you exist in. And suddenly you're not writing into the void anymore. Your world becomes full of attention and interest, and it settles that part of you that needs to feel understood and seen. Focus on understanding others. It's that simple and that complicated. Let's talk about what this looks like in practice and how you can create and sustain this kind of relationship with your writing and your community. We're going to make writing stop feeling like broadcasting into the silence and start making it a tool for building relationships. Because when everyone is focused on being seen, we have shallow interactions, insecurity, and constant comparison. But when people are focused on seeing others, everybody feels safer, more understood. I'm going to share with you an example of what it can feel like when this happens, when we start trying to see others and stop worrying about being understood for ourselves. And then we're going to talk about one very simple practice that you can enact right away to stop feeling like you're writing into the void. Most of the time, we live in a world that is not made for this kind of reciprocation. But there are some spaces designed to change the way we relate to each other and how we experience being seen. Let's take a little trip together so you can experience what this shift in perspective and priorities is actually like. You apply to the Tremont Writers Conference, not expecting much more than another conference, but it's 5 days in the Great Smoky Mountains, so if nothing else, you get to experience the park. Maybe you're a little anxious, you've been writing for years, but there's a voice in your head saying you're not a real writer. At least not compared to everybody else. But before you even get there, you've read the work of the people in your cohort. So when you meet them, there's this sense of recognition and familiarity. You unpack in your room at Tremont, you sit down and share a meal with these folks you've only met through their writing. Then you adventure into the woods with them, continuing the conversation. As you learn about the park's history and wildlife, you also get to know these writers. At first, you're still in your own head, wondering how your own work measures up. But the more you keep talking to other writers, the less you focus on yourself. And you start to get genuinely curious. You ask questions. You listen. You get to know who they are as human beings. You hear about the real life moments that bleed into their stories. And when they stand up for their 3 minutes at the open mic, you're not thinking about whether their writing is good or whether it's better than yours. You're hearing what they have to say, experiencing their words as an expression of who they are. Then it's your turn. You stand up to read. Maybe you're a little shaky, but as you share, you look out at the faces of these folks you've gotten to know over the last few days, and you see understanding in their eyes. They hear you too. That feeling that's constantly in the background, that maybe your writing doesn't matter or you're not a real writer, it starts to quiet down. Your place in this community is not determined by comparison or competition, but by mutual respect and interest. You don't have to be the best to belong. You arrived feeling alone, but you leave feeling seen. And it doesn't end there. You've built relationships with people you actually want to stay in conversation with. People who will keep reading your work, listening to your ideas, and encouraging you. And you want to do the same for them. One Tremont writer said this, and I want to share it with y'all because it's exactly what we're talking about here. I was reassured and thrilled to know that my writing reached every person in our cohort, that my poems were meaningful beyond my own personal perspective. I felt relieved of imposter syndrome, which tends to rear its ugly head when one is without community. Tremont is special because it is designed for this kind of mutual attention. Even if you don't arrive with the intention of getting to know other writers deeply, it will naturally happen at a place like Tremont. But you don't have to wait for somebody else to make this shift for you. Every writer has the ability to start creating this kind of experience for themselves. The process is simple, but in the real world, we have to do the work that Tremont does for its writers. It's not complicated. It only requires 3 simple things, but it does require intention. You have to make it a priority. So first of all, you need to find some people, 2 to 6 writers you can actually get to know over time. This can be the most daunting part, but it doesn't have to be. You can start with 1 or 2 writers you already know, or someone you've interacted with online, or you can attend a workshop or class and start with a small group from that. And of course, you can join us at writingwoods.com to find writers who are looking for this kind of deeper connection. Once you have your small group of writers, you practice reading to understand. When you read their work, don't evaluate it. Instead, try to understand what they are really trying to say. See the emotion they're expressing beneath the surface. Write a sentence or 2 about what you think they're really trying to express, and ask one real question. This can be challenging because we are trained to analyze and evaluate. Most of the time when we're sharing our work with other writers, we're asking, what can I do better? Or is this good enough? This is a big shift. Instead of asking, is this good? We're sharing our work and asking to be seen. And when we read others' work, we're not looking for ways to improve it. We are reading for the emotion underneath and reading to fully understand what they're trying to express. And that is not to say there's not a place for constructive feedback, because there is, and sometimes we need that. But that's not what we're building with this practice. And finally, the third step is to stay in the conversation. This is not a one and done. Even after an event like Tremont, it's up to the writers to stay connected and nurture the bonds that were created in the Smokies. Instead of, I need to get my work out there, it becomes, I need to stay in conversation with others' work. Prioritize these relationships even when you're busy. Think about how you can support other writers. And the longer you do this, over time, it will become easier and easier because you will care more about these people in your small group. You will get to know them so deeply that you naturally want to continue supporting and understanding them. And if you follow this, you'll feel less like an imposter. Your confidence will increase and you will stop feeling like you are writing into a black hole that's just waiting to swallow up your words. You'll have a place to belong. I don't know about y'all, but I would much rather write from a place of safety than one of fear. Our writing should connect us to the world. It should be a love letter, not a smoke signal. But when we feel isolated and like our work doesn't matter, we instinctively chase validation. We think that publication, readership, and accolades will give us this feeling. And it might, to some degree, but not in a lasting way. The reality is that we want to know our work matters because we want to know we matter. And all the success and recognition in the world can't completely satisfy the need we have to feel seen and understood. We need to involve ourselves in environments where mutual attention is prioritized. We need fewer but deeper interactions and real dialogue about our work beyond whether it's good, bad, publishable, but what it means to us and to the readers. You don't fix the feeling of writing into the void by trying harder to be seen. You stop focusing so much on yourself and start thinking about others. Folks like those at Tremont are doing amazing work by creating spaces that foster these kinds of relationships. But as writers, we can take things into our own hands. By making sure others feel seen and understood, we create spaces where our own needs are also met. My writing matters becomes something that we experience, not just something we tell ourselves. We can build strong, lasting bonds with other writers and make sure none of us feel like we're writing into the void ever again.